Hello and welcome to College and Beyond Real Talk with Amour. If you have not already guessed, I am your host, Amour Carthy. Today's episode is sponsored by Education Innovations. What we do is we help guide families through education decisions from college and graduate admissions to life beyond. Today's episode, we will be learning from Lena Johnson about how she, as a freshman, has earned a 4.0 in the STEM field. And the purpose of this podcast is to help viewers and listeners learn about what college is like and different career fields. So without further ado, let's bring on Lena Johnson. Hey, Lena, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So what school are you representing?
The Spelman College.
Okay. So what's your classification?
I'm a first year, so I'm a freshman.
Okay. How you are earning or you earned a 4.0 in the STEM field. So tell us more about why that's so important. I mean, a 4.0, I think it's important, but did you believe you could do it? And let's start out with that.
I did believe that I could do it. I think that Spelman, the way that they set up my class schedule and everything, I had two major classes in STEM, and then the other remaining classes were more towards the liberal arts curriculum that Spelman has. So that had our African diaspora in the world class. That also had a seminar class that every freshman has to take at some point in either the fall or spring semesters, and then in addition to my Japanese language class. So going into my class schedule, I felt like I was pretty well prepared for the challenge that was ahead of me. I had rigorous classes in high school that I feel like got me to the point where I could be confident in my abilities there. And then also, I just noticed that I felt like the biggest challenge that I really had wasn't the course content. It was really just my own time management. And, the biggest challenge that I had was, fighting with myself and saying, hey, like, we're going to study today for this amount of hours so that we can get that A on that next test.
Well, look at you. I mean, I already knew you were going to get a 4.0 anyway, because I mean, it just runs in the family. I mean, you
Well,
got your
yes.
sister who's ahead of you. She did well. You're there. I know you have so much going on. So you're not even telling the people what you actually have going on. You're just talking about the classes, like, oh, my schedule. Tell us what else that you do, besides school right now.
Yes. So currently, I'm a member of the Jaguarettes dance team here at Spelman. So, the official dance team of Spelman. So, we have a broad range of performances that we've had throughout the school year, going from Spelman events that are sponsored to even performing at a WNBA game earlier this year in September. So we have that going on. Then, as far as career wise, then I'm also a part of the National Society of Black Engineers chapter, the Society of Women Engineers. And then, as far as community service, one of my passions is intersecting STEM with education. So, one of my biggest things this past year has been volunteering with Masters. It's a program at Spelman that goes to KIPP Strive Academy and then tutors K through 6 students in math. So that's definitely been a joy. Do that weekly. I'll actually be doing that tomorrow. And otherwise, just here and there, on campus events and things like that.
I love how she's like, well, here and there, I tutor, I'm in the Jaguarettes, and then I have this rigorous class structure. So you mentioned that in high school you had a pretty rigorous, schedule.
Mhm.
So what did you do in high school? Because what we like to do on this platform is, like, what did you do in high school? How did you transition and things of that nature? Did you always like know that you wanted to go to Spelman? Because if I can correct me, tell me how many people in your family went to Spelman? Yeah, go ahead and tell the people.
Well, yes. So I grew up always around Spelman's campus. So I've always been exposed to the idea of going to Spelman. My mom is a very, very proud Spelman alumna. So I've been dripped out in Spelman gear since I think I was
That's
about two
right.
years old. And I have a picture of me and mine, barely being able to walk, but I have my Spelman hoodie on. So I've always been exposed to the idea of Spelman and, my opinions about where I thought I should go. I have gone to like other colleges and institutions throughout my life. But in my high school experience, while I had always known that I wanted to go into the STEM field, and I knew pretty earlier on that I wanted to be an engineering major, once I started getting into high school and getting into those higher level STEM classes, I started to realize that the environment that I want to be in my collegiate career around STEM, I want it to be more focused around the Black experience because I
Mm,
know that the ability to have a classroom full of Black students who are focused on engineering or physics and you like these like higher level education in STEM, it's pretty rare otherwise outside of an HBCU, right? So that's
mhm,
one environment that I knew that I wanted to experience before I went out into the workforce. Because once you're out into the work, you're more than likely not going to see that same type of environment anywhere else.
mm.
Um, but to answer your question about the whole legacy thing, my mom went to Spelman. That's where her and my dad met because my dad went to Morehouse. My sister goes to Spelman currently. She's a junior. And then my aunt also went to Spelman.
So did you feel the pressure from your family to go to Spelman, or did you like did they give you a choice, or you're like, "You know what? I'm my own woman, no matter what, like you said, I want this experience." Did they say, "No, you're gonna go here?" What did you
I wouldn't say that it was so much pressure in the sense that they're like, well, you have to go to Spelman and we're not paying for any other school. It was
Mhm,
never really like that. It was
mhm,
just my mom when we were younger, then people always say, oh, like, do you guys want to go to Spelman too? And my mom would be like, well, hopefully. That's all that she would
okay,
pretty much say. When I was younger, and I think like maybe middle school, maybe I felt like a little bit more pressure, but I didn't really understand what an
mhm,
HBCU was and what type of effect that could have on my journey. So once I
mm,
got into high school and I started having more of an epiphany about that, that's when I
mhm,
was more drawn to the idea of an HBCU. And I saw my mom saying, oh, well, maybe like Lena or Layla are going to go to Spelman. I saw that as
mm,
more of her saying, I want them to have this HBCU experience because I know how impactful it would be on their life.
yes. Okay. And so what were the demographics of your high school? What was that like?
Yeah, so my high school, I went to Central High School in Philadelphia. If you have any
Mhm.
Central alumni on here, Big 284, that's my class number. But for Cent
4? Wow, that's a lot of
yeah,
people.
yes, it's an old school. But yeah, so Central was pretty diverse. I mean, you're it's a magnet school in Philadelphia, so you're pulling from different demographics from across the city. So it was predominantly white and Asian, about like 30% for each of those races. And
Mhm,
then as far as the black population, in my grade, I believe that there was around like 17%. And then it
mm,
went up in I think by about 2% after my class.
mm,
Um and then, besides those, 3, races, then there were also a good amount of Hispanic and Latino folks and,
mhm.
Pacific Islander people. So,
Okay.
yeah, you had, like, a pretty, like, diverse, like, community, and the school was pretty big. So, even though there were only, like, about, like, 17% of, like, my class,
Mhm.
identifying as Black or African American, that's still about, like, 100 people or so in my grade because in my grade, there were over 600 people.
Whoa, okay. Yes. That's a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
So, that's a lot of people, and then but you said there were only 100 people who were Black. So, did you have was it a bit of a transition or culture shock for you, or were you ready for that when you came to Spelman?
As far as the environment of being in a HBCU.
Mhm,
I wouldn't say it was so big of a culture shock. I felt like in high school, I kind of had like my own like mini HBCU just based
mm,
off of the people who I would hang around and be drawn to.
mhm,
However, I did think it was really interesting because with being at Spelman, I had seen like this like mass like amount of like black people who are my age at different things such as like Jack and Joe conferences and stuff like that in high school. But then as far as in an academic environment, that was a little bit of a culture shock because previously in my STEM classes, at best, I would be one of two Black students. But most of the time, I was
right.
the only one. So then when I'm going into my physics class in the fall semester, and then there's
Mhm.
like 20 Black girls in there, I was like, my God, is this heaven? My God.
Yes. So, okay.
Mhm.
So that no, that's a good it probably was a good feeling to see people who look just like you, who, you're not one of just 2, you know?
Yeah.
So definitely that. So since you got onto the I can't pronounce the Jago. Can you say it for me, please?
The Jaguarettes.
So the Jaguarettes. So since you're a freshman, how do you try out for the team when you are coming in as a freshman? Do you have to get accepted first, meaning accepted into Spelman, then try out, or how does it go? Do you apply and then you also apply for the team and you hope for the best and everything?
Yes. So for me, last year I applied to Spelman early. So by the time that they
Mm,
started having the process of virtual tryouts, because there's kind of like a two-step system. Yeah, the
mhm,
virtual tryouts, you submit videos of like you dancing and like performances that you've had. There's like a small written part that I had to submit as well. So I submitted that in about March of last year. I already knew in my head at that point that I wanted to go to Spelman.
mm,
At that point, I have to check the current application now, but at that
mhm,
point, I don't think that I needed to submit, like, the letter that said, "Hey, like, I got admitted to Spelman," or that I'm committed to Spelman,
mhm,
because, at that point in March, people who are applying regular decision, they didn't know yet,
mhm,
because that came out on April 1st, I believe. But
mm,
yes, but later on, I think when you have the second tier of tryouts, which happened during Spellbound, the Admitted Students Day, then you had to provide some type of like identification. Hey, like I actually got into Spelman because only students who are Spelman students could try out for this or could be on the team, better yet. But yes, so I went through kind of like that virtual screening process, submitted my stuff in March. And then they reached back out to me, I think a week or two later and said, "Hey, you're moving on to the next level. Come try out with us the day after Spellbound." So then I had an interview, did
mhm,
a bit of like dancing, learning choreography with them on that
mhm,
Sunday, and then I got
mhm.
my results back a few weeks later.
Yay! Well, congratulations.
Yes.
So you are, representing Spelman very well. Like I said, you have lots that you are doing. I mean, I can believe you got in a 4.0, but there's so many things that you're doing. What strategies do you use to manage all these things? And if you could be
That's a yeah.
specific, that would be
Yeah.
helpful for the people.
That's a great question. So I feel like the habits that I have now kind of go back to when I was in high school. I always
Mhm.
tell people in high school I was like a really big try hard. So
Mm,
kind of like those same aspects of time management that I apply now in college, I already learned in high school because I was at times overcommitted, but really committed to a bunch of extracurriculars in high school in addition to having a full AP roster or honors roster for most of my time there.
mhm,
So as far as being able to make time to study and knowing like how I learn, how I'm able to memorize things and just my learning habits, then I
mhm,
was able to apply those same skills. So for me personally, I need specific environments to study sometimes. So
mhm.
I know I cannot really study if I really need to retain something in my dorm because I will go to sleep, right?
Oh, okay.
So otherwise I know that okay, if I have a big test that's coming up, then I need to have X amount of hours that I need to completely focus and lock down on. So
Mhm,
for me, I would either go to Manly, which is a building on Spelman's campus that has like their Starbucks and like
mhm,
different spaces.
mhm,
And I just put on my headphones, get to work down in there. Or if
mhm,
it's a really like big thing that I'm preparing for and I need to study for an elongated amount of time, then what I've gotten into the habit of here is going off campus to a cafe or something like that. I just did that yesterday because I had an internship that I had to write a personal statement for.
mhm.
Because in those environments, I feel like it's better to like remove myself. You're getting into like a different location. Maybe I'm trying a new latte or something like that. So I'm excited about that and things like that. So it kind of gets me in a better mood and better headspace to focus more.
Okay. Listening to me, are you listening to light music? Because you say I like to go to a cafe. I would just be like, people would interrupt me, like, "Hey, what you doing?" Like, how
Yeah.
do you have headphones and
So
be like,
yeah, so I always put on like my big headphones whenever
"Oh,
like I'm
okay."
actually trying to study. And another reason why usually I'll go off campus is because I always call like whenever I actually need to study, that's always like a solo side quest. Like I can't
Okay.
have anybody else around me because and it's
Mhm.
that's no shade to any of my friends or anything like that. I love them, but
Mhm.
even just like their presence may encourage me more to look down at my phone or be more
Mhm.
distracted than it would if it's just me and whatever I need to do. Because then I'm more conscious of myself, like Lena, girl, you know you're not supposed to be on your phone right now. You need to go back to writing that personal statement so
Mm.
I can hold myself more accountable.
So, I like what you said about the phone and holding yourself accountable. So, do you use a
Mhm.
planner, Google or Apple Calendar? Like, how do you do the actual planning of your time?
That's a good question. To be honest, I do need to use a planner or a calendar more. Specifically, more of the time, I'll make like certain like alarms and be like, "Hey, you have like this to work on." Sometimes I'll
Mm.
write like a little to do list if I have a lot on my mind and I can't really remember all the different things like I need to do. So I make a
Mhm.
to do list in my notes app because
Okay.
I am a little bit of a screenager, so I know that I'm always gonna have my phone and I'll always be looking at it at some point
Mhm.
throughout the time that I'll be studying or about to get to the place where I am about to study.
Mhm.
So that's pretty easily accessible. And my book bag
Mhm.
can get a little heavy at times, so I don't really carry around a planner. And I also forget to write in it. So
Mm.
having that on
Mhm.
my phone is usually a little bit better.
I have some other questions too.
Mhm.
Since you've gotten a we know that it's in STEM, and it doesn't, and then you don't have to answer if it's, in STEM or not. But what was your favorite class and why? Or if you have more than one favorite class, that's fine too.
That's very interesting. I would probably say that my favorite class would be my Japanese class. I love that class so much. My teacher, she is so nice. She has like a very great learning environment where, like English and Japanese and just East Asian languages in general, they're a little bit different in the way that you memorize things and just the way that you learn things in general. So, as far as having a environment where people are, able to make mistakes and not be like, "Dang, like, I just completely butchered the pronunciation of that." I feel like the learning environment that my professor has created has been very good, and I've been able to learn more about Japanese culture as well as developing my language skills. So that's
Mhm.
definitely been, like, probably my favorite classroom environment. As
Mhm.
far as, content-wise, my favorite class was Calculus 3 last semester or multivariable calculus because, I'm a nerd. I love math. So,
Mhm.
building upon, all of those AP classes I took in high school, I was like, "Oh my god, this stuff, like, actually goes somewhere." And then being able to connect those concepts into some of my other classes, I was just nerding out, like, it just made me so happy, so
Mm. You are the first person ever, but you know what? That's why you're a STEM major.
Well, yes. Well, yes.
Yes. So I love to hear it. So we know that not only academics is important, but the social environment. What was the most surprising aspect of Spelman socially that was, unexpected? If there
That's a
was
good
anything that was
question.
unexpected.
Yes. So for me, I'm a little bit of an introverted person at my core. Yeah, I
Now
grew up
your sister is okay. I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah, I grew up pretty shy, so when I get into, like, a new environment, then sometimes it's a little bit easier for me to, kind of, like, retreat and not get out of, like, my original, like, comfort zone, originally. So, going into a new environment, I did have, like, a little bit of anxiety because I was like, "Oh my god, like, I just had, like, all these great relationships throughout high school. Oh my god, like, are my friendships at college gonna compare? Are the people at college gonna like me? Like, dang, like what's gonna go on in this new academic environment, especially so far away from home? And then you have
Mhm.
all these people from, diverse backgrounds. Not
Mhm.
everybody is from Philly. Not everybody is gonna like the Eagles or
Mm.
everything else that like
Yeah.
I like. So then it's
Mhm.
also like that different thing, like, oh, like how am I gonna connect with a bunch of people who are different than me? But
Mhm.
something about Spelman's environment is that whenever they're talking about the sisterhood or anything like that, when they've been having like these like alumni or current student chats, I
Mhm.
came to realize during my new student orientation week that sisterhood is it's real. It's real. It's not for fake. Everybody here is so kind.
Mhm.
Like I remember I had to print out something and I did not know how to use that printer at all. And some girl who was just sitting down in the middle of her homework helped me for like the next like 20 minutes to figure out how to work the printer. And I had never met her before in my life.
Mhm.
But she was
Mm.
just so kind and was helping me, reaching out to different people and things like that. So that's definitely a big environment thing because even though I came in with like a little bit of anxiety, going back to my introverted core,
Mhm.
because of the environment that Spelman fosters, I felt like I was able to thrive more and get out of my comfort zone and be like, hey, like actually starting over in such a new environment and
Mm.
academically rigorous environment actually is pretty good when you have like this diverse bubble of people who are just so kind around you.
See, I like what you said because you know what? You're not alone, and everyone
Mhm.
goes through that when they get to
Yeah.
college. Like, you're all
Mhm.
new there.
Yeah.
You're all new there. Everyone's scared and excited at the same time. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you came out of your comfort zone. So, my question to you is, are you going to come out your comfort zone even more? One of the things that a lot of people don't think about is that cross registration. And that
Yeah.
could be a scary thing. You can take classes over at Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, Georgia Tech, and some other schools. They have agreements even at Georgia State. So,
Mhm.
have you thought about possibly taking classes, cross registering at any other schools in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I know Morehouse is very renowned for their business and finance programs.
Hmm.
Just going into the STEM space in general, while I'm still trying to figure out what, my career interests are, I am kind of thinking about a startup or something or some type of business venture at some point versus
Hmm.
Spelman doesn't have such a concrete business program or like business classes that you may
Hmm.
take. So
Hmm.
I've already thought about during my sophomore or junior year cross-registering at Morehouse to take a business class or a finance class, because I think that those are just very important life skills in general, in addition to my career pursuits. And
Hmm.
then also, listen, the sky is the limit. I'm a nerd. I'm always here for like another class or to get
Yes.
broaden my education. So that's definitely something too. And Spelman doesn't offer Japanese at the 300 level versus
Hmm.
Georgia Tech does. So that's also something that I may wanna do in the future because I wanna be fluent in Japanese.
Look at you. Look at we talked about all the future and all these different kind of things. That's one thing I will say that I used to be scared of.
Mm,
And once I did it, I was like, wow. Because like you said, if Spelman doesn't have it, also you're able to take it at other schools and it counts for your
yes.
credit, which is good. And once you even go out of that comfort zone, it opens up even more relationships with other, I would say AUC mates, and then even the college, I'll just say college atmosphere within the whole city, which can be even greater for you.
Mhm.
So, what was the most fun thing that you did, uh, on the social aspect for yourself since you
That's a
got
good
to Spelman?
question. I would probably say homecoming week. That's definitely probably always the highlight. Homecoming was just so great. I'd been to homecoming before, as a high schooler and stuff like that. Like I said, my parents are alums. So, part of, my mom's process of pitching Spelman to me, throughout my life was taking my sister and I to homecoming and be like, hey, like, this is what Spelman's actually like. They have all these fun things going on and stuff like that. But I think it's an incredibly rewarding experience to experience that as an actual student, and
Mhm,
just see everybody come together in a way that you may not before, and especially not at any other institution. Spout House,
right.
we definitely do it big. So
Yes,
yeah.
we do. Yes, we do. Yes, what else would you like to share with the audience?
Wow, that's a great question. I would just say I know a lot of high schoolers and stuff like that. Whenever I'm on like a college panel, or even when I was listening into college panels when I was in high school, a lot of the time people ask about, "Oh my God, what's like your time management skills or anything like that?" So for the advice I give to a high schooler is just listen, your time management skills, whatever schedule that you create, it's for you, right? You shouldn't go off of somebody else's schedule necessarily because that might not work for you in the same way. For me personally, I know that I work better when I'm able to lock in for an extended amount of time. Like, for example, yesterday I was working for like 4 hours, but on Saturday I didn't do anything. And the same thing
Mm,
happened on Friday. I had some things to do, so I was working for like 4 or 5 hours. But then after that, I was able to rest because, in that sense, even though I can procrastinate at times, I function well being able to, get into that headspace for an elongated amount of time, get the work out the way, get it done, and then afterwards I can relax. Though other people may work better in different arenas and things like that. So I would just say if you're in high school right now, just start trying out different methods, see what works for you, see if it's better if you work on something in an elongated space, doing work every single day, or if you're like me and you may need to, lock in for an extended period of time so that you can focus on other things, whether that be extracurriculars, scholarships, YZ, community service, for the remaining time.
So you mentioned also scholarships. Do you have any advice? Because I know probably people would ask for advice. I know that you got a really great scholarship. Do you have any advice about how people can go about getting some great ones like you did?
Yes. So that was one of my biggest questions when I was in high school too, because that scholarship hunt is definitely real. So for me, I think that it really just takes, dedicating some time to doing some research. This can be on Google, on the College Board website. They have a whole lot of scholarships that you can look up on the College Board website. That's where I found the FOSSI scholarship, the Future of STEM Scholars Initiative scholarship, which is about like 10K a year and provides mentorship and stuff like that. But if I wasn't up and down looking on College Board to try to see what scholarship I could get, I would have never known about that at all.
Mm,
But yeah, I can understand, for high schoolers, for me, I was like, I feel like some of these scholarships are kind of hiding themselves. Like I'm over here looking up and down Google
right.
and everything like that. So I would just say use every search engine that you can. Again, Google, College Board. Shoot, you can even ask ChatGPT because ChatGPT surveys all of the different search
Mm-hmm.
engines and then
Mm-hmm.
provides you with some of the results too. And can lead you to some different things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something I would say. And yeah, if you're a high schooler listening in right now, I would definitely say get on that scholarship grind because there are fewer opportunities that are due in the spring rather than when we're in the winter here in February and then going into March a little bit. So I would say that. And then also, I would say to focus on scholarships that may be a little bit smaller. Just it's human nature. Like if you have a scholarship that's okay, there's gonna be such a large so much, like, of a bigger, applicant pool that would be applying for that 20K scholarship because who couldn't use 20K to go to their education, right? That's obviously gonna be the eye grabber. But when you go down to your scholarships, that might be towards a targeted group, like for the FOSSI scholarship, it's specifically for HBCU STEM majors, right? So when you have something that may be more towards a targeted group, or if you have a scholarship that's of a smaller amount, whether that's K, K, 2.5K, then you can get down that pool, and then just statistically your chances of getting that scholarship are going to increase. And those
Mm-hmm.
smaller scholarships can add up really quickly. Like for
Yes.
me, I got one that was 10K, then I got another one that was 5K, then I got another one that was like 2.5, and then
Look
I
at
got
you.
like then I got like two that were like 1.5 each, and that added up to
Yes.
$20,000 per year real quick. So, and that was
Congratulations.
thank you, and those are just, I think, like, 5 or 6, right?
Yeah.
Versus any of, like, the scholarships that I applied for that were, like, 20K. Even the not to say that you can't get them, it's just a little bit more unlikely.
See, I like that advice because people do pass up and overlook the
Mhm.
smaller ones when, like you said, less people apply for the smaller ones and you're more likely to have a higher rate of getting the smaller ones and they do add up. So
Mhm.
why not? So congratulations to you. As we wrap up, do you have a way that people can follow you or get in touch with you or stay connected?
Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. I can definitely share my school email. It's Lena Johnson 1 at spelman.edu. And then my Gmail is Lena, so Lena, and then Shani, Shani 07 at gmail.com. So you can definitely reach out, email me. I check my email every day as a good college student should. So I'll definitely see it and respond if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you so much. See you on the next episode. Bye.
See ya.